Foundation Bapak Rajiv Warir, Senior Program Manager Wadwani Foundation Bapak Dr. Dion Dewa Barata, SE MSM beserta tim, Wakil Rektor Bidang Akademik Institut Informatika dan Bisnis Dharma Jaya Bapak Dr. Sutedi Eskom MTI, Wakil Rektor Bidang Non-Akademik Institut Informatika dan Bisnis Dharma Jaya Bapak Mufrihan Thoib Esos MM, Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Komputer, Dekan Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, serta Dekan Fakultas Desain Hukum dan Pariwisata, Bapak Ibu Ketua Program Studi Institut Informatika dan Bisnis Dharma Jaya, serta para tamu undangan dan peserta Stadium General Entrepreneurship Education Ecosystem in Asia yang berbahagia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, Tabi Pun. Puji syukur marilah kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, yang mana atas karunia-Nya lah kita dapat berkumpul di ruangan ini dalam keadaan sehat walafiat. Salawat serta salam tak lupa kita agungkan kepada junjungan kita Nabi Muhammad SAW, yang kita nantikan syafaatnya di yaumil akhir nanti. Amin ya robbal alamin. Sebelum memulai acara, marilah kita buka acara ini dengan melafalkan lafaz basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Acara selanjutnya yaitu doa yang akan dipimpin oleh Bapak Dr. Haji Suratno SPDI MH. Kepada Bapak Dr. Haji Suratno SPDI MH disilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya izin memimpin dengan cara Islam bagi yang beragama lain agar bisa menyesuaikan insyaallah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma sholli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, hamdan syakirin hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazida. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma ighfir lana dzunubana wa li walidayna warhamhuma kama rabbayana shaghira wa li jamil mu'minin wal mu'minat wal muslimin wal muslimat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat ya qadiyal hajat innaka ala kulli syai'in qadir. Rabbana dhalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana la tu'akhidna in nasina aw akhtana. Rabbana wala tahmil alaina isran kama hamaltahu alal ladzina min qablina. Rabbana wala tuhammilna ma la taqata lana bih wa'fu 'anna waghfir lana warhamna anta maulana fansurna 'alal qaumil kafirin. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dzurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Ya Allah, lancarkanlah acara hari ini ya Allah, acara Stadium General Entrepreneurship Education Ecosystem in Asia ya Allah. Berkahkan acara ini ya Allah. Mudahkan dari awal sampai dengan akhir ya Allah. Lancarkan dan mudahkan ya Allah. Serta berikan ilmu yang bermanfaat bagi kami semua yang hadir ya Allah. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Bi fadlika subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun. Wassalamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Terima kasih, mohon maaf lahir batin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Amin, 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 ya robbal alamin. Semoga Allah mengijabah segala doa-doa kita. Acara selanjutnya yaitu menyanyikan lagu kebangsaan Indonesia Raya. Hadirin dimohon berdiri. hadirin dipersilakan duduk kembali. Acara selanjutnya yaitu sambutan dari Rektor Institut Informatika dan Bisnis Dharma Jaya yang akan sekaligus membuka acara Stadium General Entrepreneurship Education Ecosystem in Asia yang dalam hal ini diwakilkan oleh Wakil Rektor Bidang Akademik Institut Informatika dan Bisnis Dharma Jaya kepada Bapak Dr. Sutedi Eskom MTI. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabi pun. Yang saya hormati Bapak Wakil Rektor 3, Bapak Muprihan Thoib Esos MM. Yang kami hormati tamu kita hari ini, Bapak Mr. Rajiv Warrior, Eksekutif Vice President dari Watwani Foundation. Kemudian Bapak Dr. Dion Dewa Brata SEMSM sebagai Senior Program Manager Watwani Foundation beserta jajarannya. Selamat datang di Lampung, selamat datang di Kampus Biru Dharma Jaya. Yang saya hormati juga ada Dekan Filkom di sini, Bapak Dr. Said Hasibuan Mkom, ada Dekan Ekonomi Bisnis juga Ibu Aswin SEMM, dan para dosen sekalian yang hadir serta anak-anak atau adik-adik sekalian yang saya banggakan. Puji syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala karena pada hari ini kita masih diberikan kekuatan dan kemudahan untuk bisa hadir di ruangan ini untuk mengikuti acara Stadium General Entrepreneurship Education Ecosystem in Asia. Tak lupa salawat serta salam kita haturkan ke junjungan kita Nabi besar Muhammad SAW. Semoga di yaumil akhir kelak kita mendapatkan syafaatnya. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Ya, para hadirin sekalian, acara hari ini tentu sangat inline dengan salah satu hal yang memang kita unggulkan di Dharma Jaya. Kalau bicara entrepreneur, memang dari dulu kampus kita mencanangkan salah satunya untuk bisa membuat alumni-alumni yang dapat berkiprah di dunia entrepreneur. Dan itu sudah terbukti sebenarnya ya. Dari beberapa alumni yang ada, banyak sebenarnya yang sudah juga terjun di bidang wirausaha ini sebenarnya gitu ya. Tidak cuma sebagai pekerja atau pegawai, tapi bisa menjadi pengusaha. Kalau disebut mungkin akan banyak, tapi salah satu yang mungkin bisa saya sampaikan dan masih selalu teringat itu adalah salah satunya adalah alumni TI. Itu ada yang sudah berkiprah bahkan di dunia internasional ya, di Ekosis ya. Siapa namanya, Mas Wahono ya. Ya, Sri Wahono itu alumni TI kita, sudah menunjukkan kiprahnya untuk berwirausaha di bidang IT, namanya Akosis, dan itu sudah penggunanya levelnya internasional. Bahkan saat ini beliau sudah mengembangkan usahanya di bidang-bidang lain, ya ada hotel dan sebagainya. Ini salah satu contoh saja bahwa anak-anak Dharma Jaya mampu bisa menjadi pengusaha-pengusaha hebat. Belum lama ini juga saya sempat bertemu dengan salah satu alumni, karena kebetulan ini saya di Ilkom, jadi banyaknya ketemunya yang alumni Ilkom ya. Yang ekonomi mungkin juga banyak sebenarnya. Yang lalu itu saya ketemu alumni sistem informasi. Waktu kuliah sempat bandel gitu ya. Tapi ternyata dia punya jiwa entrepreneur yang baik dan gigih. Dan dia berhasil membangun usahanya walaupun sempat jatuh bangun. Sekarang sudah punya beberapa gerai. Itu kalau adik-adik pasti mungkin tahu yang sering ulang tahun pesen paket Mixum. Tahu Mixum ya? Tahu? Nah itu alumni kita. Ownernya alumni Dharma Jaya. Ya. Itu memang baru di Lampung, tapi saya pikir usahanya cukup lumayan dikenal ya. Di kaula muda Lampung, Mixum itu lumayan cukup dikenal. Dan sempat ngobrol-ngobrol, saya agak tercengang juga saat ditanya berapa sekarang omsetnya. Ada yang tahu? Anak Dharma Jaya, usaha belum lama, Mixum, itu dia punya omset saat ini di sekitaran 500 juta per bulan. Dan dia sedang di-challenge untuk bisa mencapai target omset di atas 1M. 1 bulan ya. Kalau beli bakso berenang-berenang kita sama kuahnya. Nah, ini dari 2 contoh saja yang saya kebetulan tahu, mungkin akan banyak lagi sebenarnya. Menunjukkan tadi bahwa kita mampu, kita bisa. Dan kita berharap hari ini akan banyak lagi alumni kita, atau mungkin juga bahkan dimulai dari saat adik-adik masih kuliah ini, untuk muncul bibit-bibit entrepreneur baru yang juga nggak kalah sukses dan membanggakan bagi kampus maupun juga orang tua nantinya gitu. Sehingga tidak lagi bergantung hanya ingin jadi karyawan, tapi juga bisa membangun sebuah usaha yang mungkin akan merekrut karyawan lainnya gitu ya, membuka usaha baru, membuka tempat kerja baru gitu. Nah, acara hari ini tentunya kita bersyukur mendapatkan tamu yang akan memberikan insight kepada kita tentang entrepreneur, tapi tidak cuma lokal, tapi bahkan kita sudah mulai masuk ke internasional gitu ya, sehingga tentunya ilmu dan kesempatan yang baik ini saya berharap adik-adik semua bisa simak dan bisa manfaatkan sebaik mungkin, sehingga tadi ya harapan kita ke depan akan bisa muncul entrepreneur muda baru dari Dharma Jaya yang bisa sukses seperti yang saya ceritakan. Terkait dengan program Watwani, saat ini kita juga sudah implementasi di, bentar saya baca datanya. Ya, saat ini kita sudah 15 kelas ya, implementasi kurikulum dari Watwani dengan 7 dosen yang juga sudah lulus pelatihan. Total semuanya, mungkin mudah-mudahan hadir semua di sini. Tapi kayaknya kalau hadir semua nggak cukup ya. Karena semua mahasiswa yang ikut program ini di Dharma Jaya jumlahnya adalah 526 mahasiswa. Ini luar biasa, kalau misalnya 10% saja jadi pengusaha hebat, ya pasti sudah tambah rame di Lampung ini dengan alumni-alumni yang jadi pengusaha yang hebat. Dan dari 526 ini setidaknya sekitar 175 venture ya sedang disiapkan. Kita berharap juga dari 175 itu ada sekitar 10% yang bisa disiapkan dengan baik sehingga akan bisa lolos ke global jury. Dan kita berharap ke depan juga akan semakin banyak dosen-dosen kita yang akan tersertifikasi ini, sehingga nanti kita bisa memasifkan program ini di kampus kita dengan lebih maksimal lagi. Mungkin nggak panjang lebar ya yang sambutan dari saya, karena ini inti yang paling penting nanti adalah dari para pembicara yang mungkin kita akan simak bersama. Menurut saya untuk sambutan kali ini saya rasa cukup. Terima kasih kepada tim Watwani Foundation yang sudah berkenan hadir dan akan berbagi ilmunya dengan kita hari ini. Dengan mengucap lafaz basmalah, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dengan ini Stadium Jenderal Entrepreneurship Education Ecosystem in Asia dengan resmi dibuka. Seri. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Acara selanjutnya adalah ucapan selamat datang secara simbolis kepada Watwani Foundation atas kedatangannya di Institut Informatika dan Bisnis Dharma Jaya dengan dilakukannya pengalungan tapis oleh Bapak Dr. Sutadi Eskom MTI serta Bapak Muprihan Thoib Esos MM. Dimohon kesediaannya. Kepada seluruh Bapak Ibu Kepala Prodi dimohon kesediaannya untuk mengambil foto bersama. Enggak kedengeran demi Allah. Acara selanjutnya adalah sambutan dari perwakilan Watwani Foundation kepada Bapak Dr. Dion Dewa Barata SEMSM selaku Senior Program Manager Watwani Foundation. Dipersilakan.
Ya, selamat siang semuanya. So, I'm going to use bahasa so it's more easily to understand. Ya, terima kasih atas kehadiran teman-teman semua di sini, Bapak Ibu pimpinan Ya, terima kasih atas kedatangannya. Kami dari Watwani Foundation, kita sudah bekerja sama sejak tahun ini di semester pertama, dan pada pembicaraannya sudah dilakukan dari tahun lalu. Tapi yang kami ingin sampaikan adalah bagaimana Watwani Foundation we are trying to find a better university or the better higher education institution that has the similar or the same passion with us, creating entrepreneur. And one of the university, one of the higher education in Lampung that came to us, actually Dharma Jaya, with the spirit of engaging more entrepreneurial student. So we are happy to help Dharma Jaya, to achieve that target actually. And sejak awal pertama kali kerjasama antara Watwani Foundation dengan Dharma Jaya, kita sudah melihat bahwa jumlah mahasiswanya meningkat. Ya, jumlah mahasiswanya sangat banyak. Ada sekitar 400-an ya Mbak Dita, sekitar 400-an mahasiswa Bu Lila ya. 400-an mahasiswa, dosennya sendiri yang sudah mengikuti FOP itu ada sekitar 7, 400-an siswa dan ada sekitar 150 ventures. Ya, 150 venture. Ini adalah salah satu kampus dengan jumlah venture terbanyak untuk Indonesia saat ini. Ya. Very good. Dan ke depan kami berharap bahwa venture-venture yang dihasilkan tidak hanya banyak, tapi juga adalah venture-venture yang dapat memberikan dampak. Dalam arti bukan sekadar punya usaha, tapi usahanya ini harus memberikan dampak. Seperti yang tadi disampaikan bahwa salah satu target dari Watwani Foundation adalah job creation. So if you have that kind of business and your business scaling up, then you will open the job opportunity, then you will have the job creation thing. Itu yang menjadi target kita, dan ke depan kami berharap dari Dharma Jaya juga bersama-sama dengan Watwani Foundation kita dapat bekerja sama lebih erat ya ke depan untuk menghasilkan lebih banyak lagi entrepreneur. Tadi sudah disampaikan oleh Bapak Warek, ya. Teman-teman di sini menyenangkan. Kenapa? Satu, teman-teman punya alumni yang bisa jadi role model, ya. Yang kedua, teman-teman punya struktur organisasi yang memungkinkan itu terjadi, ya. Nampaknya struktur organisasi dari Dharma Jaya memang didesain untuk membantu teman-teman jadi entrepreneur. Yang ketiga, program-programnya sudah jalan. Nah, ini tolong dimanfaatkan ke depan, dan kami dengan senang hati akan mensupport untuk itu. Demikian aja dari saya, terima kasih, dan semoga kita bisa bekerja sama ke depan. Thank you.
Demikianlah acara pembukaan Stadium General Entrepreneurship Education Ecosystem in Asia pada siang hari ini. Marilah kita tutup acara ini dengan melafalkan lafaz hamdalah. Saya selaku pembawa acara memohon maaf apabila terdapat kesalahan dan kekeliruan dalam bertutur. Kepada Allah saya mohon ampun. Saya akhiri, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Acara yang selanjutnya yaitu acara inti, yaitu Stadium General yang akan dimoderatori oleh Bapak Muhammad Saputra SEMM. Kepada Bapak Muhammad Saputra SEMM dipersilakan.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Stadium General Entrepreneurship Education Ecosystem in Asia with me, Muhammad Saputra, as moderator in this activity. And then I feel so glad because I can meet with a spirit, young generation, and also I meet with a special guest from, one of them is from India. Maybe we will continue to the point of activity. For the speaker, Mr. Dion and Rajib, time is yours. You can sit down in front of us. Yeah. Before we start the point of activity, maybe I will read about the speaker profile. Mr. Rajib Warrior, he had a lot of experience. The first is about he had worked at Tata Consulting Service Computer as employee, and then I2 Technology as development manager, and then Symphony Service as vice president engineering, and then SAP Labs as vice president of NetWeaver development, and then Joint Electronic for Imaging as BV research and development, and then AKA1.com as chief technology officer and SVP supply chain and code operation, and then right now he working at Wadani Foundation as AVP Wadani entrepreneur. And then we have second speaker, Mr. Dion Dewa Barata, and then he has a lot of several experience. He had worked at several company and university, and then right now he work at Wadani Foundation as senior program manager. Maybe the point of activity is presentation of Mr. Rajib Warrior, maybe around 20 minutes. Okay, for Mr. Rajib Warrior, time is yours.
Okay, so should I stand there and present?
Yes, you can stand.
So there is a deck. Can we switch to the presentation?
Yes.
So is it good afternoon? What's the time now? What's the time? Good afternoon. What is the time now?
20 minutes.
What is the time?
Right now, 1 p.m.
1 p.m. All right, so good afternoon, everybody. It is a pleasure to meet such a young crowd and so many of you. So this is translated into Bahasa. Why is the text like that?
The font.
Font that we are looking for. Okay, so we have a presentation here which has a font that is not presenting, but doesn't matter. We'll talk about. So this particular slide is supposed to tell you that Wadhwani Foundation, we are all about creating jobs. We work in Latin America, in Africa, and Asia Pacific, most of the development world, to create jobs. That's what we do. We are a non-profit organization. We don't charge the students or teachers or the universities anything. All we do is to help entrepreneurs or help create entrepreneurs of students like you in universities. And then people who actually start up. We work with incubators in these countries to help these early stage startups to become sustainable and get funded. And then when these startups become small scale industries, we help them to grow faster and bigger. Why do we do all this? In today's world, the governments and the established large companies cannot provide enough jobs to all the young youth that are graduating every year. This is the case in India, in Bangladesh, here, Vietnam, Cambodia, take any of these countries, or in Africa or Latin America. So many of you will have to find your own job or create your own enterprises and employ the rest of the people. So there's a huge responsibility on people who end up in large, big universities to create jobs. So we tell you how to create jobs. So that's what we do. We do it in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. So that's what this slide is all about. And where do we get money? So we have about 180 employees globally. We are funded by a gentleman named Ramesh Wadhwani, who was a serial entrepreneur, and he built over 50 companies in his career. He's in his 70s now. So he funds all these activities from the money he made setting up companies as an entrepreneur. So we have an endowment over $2 billion. We work out of that fund year after year doing this. This year we will, help about 60,000 students globally in these regions to learn what is entrepreneurship all about. About 2,000 early stage startups will get help from us to get funded, mostly in India, in Africa as well. And then about 500 small and medium scale industries will get help to identify how to grow and take those actions to grow so that they can employ more people. So that's what we do. Now coming to the topic, the education ecosystem for entrepreneurship in Asia. This is no different from anywhere else in the world, right? Now, what is ecosystem? Ecosystem is the elements that you see around you. It could be your parents, to teachers who teach, to incubators who will incubate you or help you to grow, experts and mentors whom you can go to when you have self-doubt. So government, the policy makers, all these are part of ecosystem. So if you shift to the next slide and try our luck to see if the font will come up. So that's Ramesh. It's still gibberish. Doesn't matter. He's the one who's funding all this. Next slide, please. Again, gibberish. So this was supposed to say that I'm going to present to you the top 10 aspects of this ecosystem that you should be worried about. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, now this is the first point, right? So first of all, you need to understand what is entrepreneurship and what is involved in building up a startup, right? So you need to learn about it. And that's the topmost thing in our mind that students need to know. When somebody asks a question to you, you would either say, I don't know, or you will explain it. You will explain the answer if you know the topic, or if you know this is all to it. So if somebody asks you what is quantum physics, 90% of the people in the world will say, I don't have a clue. 10% of the people will try to explain what it is, right? Because they remember something that they studied in their 10th standard about quantum physics and what it's all about. So what we are attempting to do here is to tell you that this is all to it. Entrepreneurship means you have to go and find out a problem that you want to solve. And then what is the solution? You would build that particular solution. And then you would go and test it with the customers or people who have that problem. And then you will figure out how to operate this in a commercially viable, meaning making money. And then how to scale it. And then if the idea is great, how to take it all over the world. That's all to it. It all starts from finding a problem worth solving, that somebody is ready to pay money to solve that problem. That's all to it. So our attempt is to tell you that it's as simple as that. Don't get afraid of that large word called entrepreneurship, which many people, including me, will write it with the wrong spelling because there are too many U's and E's in it. So don't worry about it. right? This is all to it. So a structured program where you actually try these theories on a practice venture and you pitch it to your teacher saying that this is how I set up my idea and this is my customer, this is how I'll price it, this is my competition, and this is my business model, this is how I make money, and this is how I grow and become the next Google of the world. So stand up and give the pitch looking into the eyes of that teacher who taught you. That's all to it. So the first point is, we tell you this is all to it. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next problem is a huge problem. In most of the developing world, parents want you to take up a job. Whether it's a government job or a Procter & Gamble job or an army job, that's what they want to do because it's a safe bet. When you get into entrepreneurship, it's not a safe bet. So there is a lot of cultural shift that are required in the society to understand that it's a very risky thing, it's a noble thing that entrepreneurs do, and you have to face failures, you have to face changes. Many people who were with you when you started would leave. So the first 6 years of an entrepreneur is going to be really difficult, right? So you need to make your parents understand this, your girlfriends or boyfriends understand this, and tell them that I believe in this problem, I believe in my story, I want to make it big, and hence I am, or my company is, right? So that's the next big cultural shift that you need within you and in the people around you. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. Then inclusivity and diversity. So this is not for the bottom of the class or top of the class or middle of the class. This is not for women only or men only. Anybody who's passionate about a problem that they want to solve and who dislike reporting to somebody every day in the morning and going through the same saluting, routine, entrepreneurship is for you. You're ready to struggle, you're ready to convince your family, and you're passionate about the problem and the ultimate beneficiary of the solution, and then it's for you. It doesn't matter. You can be bottom of the class or top of the class. If you believe in the idea and problem that you can solve, it's for you. Next slide, please. And the supportive legal environment. So earlier we were in the University of Lampung, right? Yeah, so there was a marketplace where the current completing students put up a stall of all their ideas, right? And there was one idea, which is a highly scalable, smart idea, which is nothing but set up a online app to help farmers with all their problems. Farmers having any problems or any supply requirements, they can come in here and ask for it and get it. And these are 3 young students who have set it up, who built it, and who's demonstrating it. Now, they need to go and ensure that it is their idea, nobody can hijack it. That's why these regulatory frameworks and, patenting and all that kind of structures are very important. Taxation. In India, for example, first 10 years, you don't have to pay any tax. And you can choose which 3-year block you want to be exempted. So typically in the first 4 or 5 years, you don't make much money, you're surviving. And when you start making money, you can actually save tax. That kind of regulatory and legal frameworks are very important in the country, so look for that. So if you're starting up something, look up at all government schemes that are there to help entrepreneurs. They exist in most of the countries in the world. Next slide, please. Then the infrastructure, like the incubator that you have in this university, there are government and institutional infrastructure that's available if you're a startup guy to go and take help of. There are experts available there, mentors available there, and take their help. Entrepreneurship can be very lonely. And when you are facing problem, you need assurance again and again, right? So these are the infrastructures that the state and institutions provide. Next slide, please. And collaborating and networking. So typically the incubators, institutions will have experts, people who have been successful with startups, people who have been failure at startups, and they come and provide you all the information they have, which helps you. If you go to a large company, Procter & Gamble, and join as a marketing assistant there, there is a huge system that teaches you how to behave and how to win deals for that company. Whereas when you're running and starting up, you are your boss. There are 3 people looking up to you, or 4 of you are struggling on a daily basis. So it is important to network and take advice from similar people, from their experiences, rather than, trying to figure it all on yourself. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Market access. So this is the other thing. So how do you get access to the audience or the people who are facing this problem? And governments can provide it, you yourself will have to get it, and there are incubators who can provide it. So a structured market access program is a very key element for institutions, for governments, and for you ultimately. But then it's your idea, it's your market, it's your customers, you have to figure out how to do it. Like I said, first 6 years of an entrepreneurial journey is very interesting, very painful, but if you get through, it's great. You get the satisfaction of creating something from thin air. Next slide, please. Access to funding. So typically what happens in the first 2 years, you will be after government funding. There are a lot of government schemes in most of the developing world where they give grants to early stage. So in India, for example, there's a huge lot of money available. They will release it if you present an idea, if you present a working prototype, and if you present your first set of customers, and if you present a strategy to go to market, they will pay you money. Government will pay you money. There are a lot of schemes, so you should be very aware of these schemes if you decide to start up. Next slide, please. And lastly, the institutions which provide you help, like for example, the Ignite batch from here, you should start tracking how many of you took your ideas and went to her incubator, and then how many of them got the government grants, how many of them got commercial money, and how many of them successfully ran. Right now, your professor was talking about 2 successful entrepreneurs from here, which is a great thing. So you engage with them, get them to come and speak to you. What was there for 6 years, right? So monitoring and keeping track of what has happened to you after the Ignite program. How many of you actually took your ideas and continued beyond your grade into the incubator, into the grant scheme, into the real world? Keep a track of it. It'll certainly help the institutions that are trying to build entrepreneurship culture or entrepreneurs in the economy. The next slide, please. That's all I have. So, do you like it? Will you become an entrepreneur? How many of you will try to become an entrepreneur after my pitch? Nobody? Raise your hands, please. Only you are there.
Ya, berapa banyak yang ingin jadi entrepreneur dari kelas ini? Yang mau jadi pengusaha?
Thank you.
lot of people want to be entrepreneur. Very interesting presentation, Mr. Rajab. We know that Madhwani Foundation is a non-profit organization that push or give the opportunity to all people to get a good business, right? And then before we enter the Q&A, maybe there is a supplementary explanation from Mr. Dion. For Mr. Dion, time is yours.
Ya, pertanyaan saya simpel. Ya tadi sudah ditanya sama Mas Putra ya. Ya, yang ingin jadi entrepreneur ada berapa? Angkat tangan. Banyak ya? Ya. Enggak, kalau misalkan tidak ingin jadi entrepreneur, teman-teman salah tempat nih, karena kampus ini support entrepreneur luar biasa, gitu. Jadi harapannya tadi ya sudah diberikan contoh juga bahwa entrepreneur itu di sini bagus dalam sistemnya, alumni juga bagus. Nah, dulu ketika saya jadi mahasiswa, ya sama seperti teman-teman, ketika saya jadi mahasiswa, saya banyak bertemu dengan pembicara-pembicara, ya sama seperti ini. Dan saya punya dua pilihan di sana. Ya, saya punya dua pilihan. Pilihan pertama adalah saya mau mendengarkan, atau yang kedua saya tidak mau mendengarkan. Ya, dua itu aja pilihannya. Kalau saya mau mendengarkan, ya, kalau saya mau mendengarkan, saya nggak akan rugi. Kenapa? Karena saya bayar. Teman-teman ada yang kuliahnya gratis nggak di sini? Ada beberapa kuliahnya gratis. Kalian gratis dalam arti benar-benar tidak mengeluarkan apapun selain apa? Ada nggak ya? Benar-benar nggak ada keluar apapun. Saya nggak percaya bahwa ada. Kenapa? Kalian pasti mengeluarkan waktu. Waktunya keluar nggak? Waktu. Jadi nggak ada yang gratis. Oke? Karena nggak ada yang gratis, manfaatin sebanyak-banyaknya kesempatan-kesempatan seperti ini. Nah, pilihan kedua adalah saya untuk tidak mendengarkan. Ya, pilihan kedua saya adalah untuk tidak mendengarkan. Tapi kalau saya tidak ingin mendengarkan, saya akan rugi sendiri. Ya, saya akan rugi sendiri karena saya nggak dapat apapun dari situ. Oke? Nah, dulu ketika saya pertama kali masuk ke dalam dunia kampus, jadi mahasiswa sama seperti teman-teman, ya, saya punya opsi itu. Dan saya memilih untuk, oke deh saya mau belajar. Pertanyaannya adalah ketika saya mau bikin usaha, ditanya siapa yang mau jadi entrepreneur, angkat tangan semuanya. Tapi berikutnya adalah saya mau usaha apa? Saya mau usaha apa? Akhirnya saya memutuskan, if you want to become an entrepreneur, ya, start with the problem. Start with the problem. Problem apa? Problem that you face every day. Problem yang Anda hadapi setiap hari. Saya ngapain nih? Oh, saya males. Saya susah bangun pagi. Saya susah untuk mengingat tugas-tugas saya dari kampus. Itu masalah bukan? Masalah. Oke, kita bikin aplikasi untuk membuat notifikasi. Oh, saya kalau siang suka ngantuk nih. Nih saya kasih tahu, ada satu mahasiswa dari Madhwani Foundation juga, dia punya masalah seperti ini. Pak Dion, saya itu kalau mendengarkan seminar, ya, itu suka ngantuk, Pak. Dan saya pikir banyak dari kita seperti itu. Ya, banyak dari kita seperti itu. Saya juga seperti itu kok. Ya. Apalagi kalau misalkan saya datangnya tuh terpaksa. Ya, pasti juga seperti itu. Akhirnya ada satu anak nih. Ini satu anak duduknya di belakang dan dia melihat teman-temannya pada ngantuk. Ya. Teman-temannya pada nggak dengerin, pada ngantuk. Terus dia mikir, saya ngeliat bisnis di sini. Ini kejadian nyata. Dari mana? Dari Universitas Pembangunan Jaya. Ya, dia melihat bisnis. Bisnisnya apa? Kalau saya bisa bikin sesuatu untuk mengatasi rasa kantuk, ya, mengatasi rasa kantuk secara cepat bagi mahasiswa-mahasiswa atau bagi siswa-siswa, ini akan sangat bagus nih. Dan ini anak-anak teknologi pangan, ya, dia anak teknologi pangan dan dia akhirnya menciptakan permen, simple, permen, solving the problem of people easily asleep when doing things. Dia nyiptakan permen. Loh, kan ada Kopiko. Tahu Kopiko nggak? Ya, Kopiko nggak ngaruh sebenarnya, malah bikin tambah ngantuk. Ya, karena itu manis. Dia bikin permen yang bisa mengatasi rasa kantuk, full of caffeine. Create a sweets full of caffeine. Lalu dia bikin permen itu. Nah, sekarang gimana caranya dia ngejual? Gimana caranya dia ngejual? Gimana dia caranya dia kaya dari situ? Dia kemudian mempatenkan permen tersebut, ya. Dia create sedikit, kemudian dia mempatenkan permen tersebut dan dia menjual patennya. Sebenarnya nggak jual sih, company datengin dia, beli patennya. Sekarang dia dapat apa? Dia dapat Rp1 per satu permen yang dijual. Rp1 per satu permen yang dijual. Kecil banget ya. Tapi penjualan permen itu ya per bulan itu 5 juta. Jadi sebulan dia dapat 5 juta rupiah doing nothing sekarang. Targetnya dia siapa? Teman-temannya dia yang gampang ngantuk, ya. Jadi dia ngelihat opportunity di situ. Tadi saya juga tadi di Unila, sebelum dari sini kami dari Unila, kami juga discuss sama dosen, ya. We discuss with the faculty, and dan tahu nggak komplain dari fakulti apa? Pak Dion, kalau anak-anak ini ya, Pak Dion ya, mereka disuruh belajar mah susah, ya. Tapi kalau main game bisa 15 jam, ya, bisa 15 jam. Main Mobile Legend, main apa seperti itu. Oke. Nah, saya kasih tahu. Saya bilang ada satu mahasiswa nih, dari mana? Dari Erlangga. Universitas Erlangga. Dia ngapain? Kalau ada seminar, dia akan duduk di belakang main game. Ya. Saya tahu di sana ada yang main kok. Ya. Kalau di kelas, dia akan duduk di belakang main game. Dia nggak pernah ngerjain main game. Lama-lama dia mikir gini, kalau saya main game terus, ini mah saya akan nggak pinter-pinter. Nah, kemudian dia mencari solving the problem. Apa yang dia lakukan? Dia kemudian melihat, oh ternyata jasa jadi joki game itu gede. Jasa jadi joki game itu gede. Dan dia punya skillnya. Kenapa dia punya skillnya? Karena setiap saat dia latihan. Ya kan? Setiap saat dia latihan. Dia punya skillnya. Tapi dia ngeliat, wah kalau jadi joki kan nggak bagus-bagus amat ya jadi joki ya. Lalu anak ini ngapain? Dia membuat kursus main game. Targetnya siapa? Customernya. Bayangin, siapa customernya? Kakek-kakek kah? Teman-temannya sendiri yang main game gagal terus tapi keluarin duit terus. Ya. Anak-anak SMA, dia bikin kursus memenangkan satu game tertentu. Kursus 3 hari. Dia bikin kursus. Targetnya anak SMA, anak kuliahan. Ya. Dan dia sewa satu game center di Surabaya. Dia booking satu game center 10 PC di sana. Dia sewa 10 juta satu hari. Konsumennya dia mau bayar dia 30 juta, mau bayar dia 3 juta untuk ikut kursusnya dia. So, ongkos sewanya 10 juta, pendapatannya dia berapa? 30 juta, dan dia tidak kehilangan passionnya dia main game. Lihat bagaimana dia mengubah passionnya dia menjadi real business. Dan sekarang dia nggak cuma jual di Surabaya. Dia jualnya di mana? Di Bandung, di Surabaya, di Jogja, di Bali. Dan kelasnya dia tidak pernah kosong. Minimum 15 orang. 15 kali 3 juta, 45 juta. Ongkos produksinya dia hanya 10-15 juta. Setiap bulan, anak semester 6, setiap bulan dia udah dapat sekitar 30-40 juta. 30-40 juta. Kok bisa begitu ya? Solving the problem. We are student, entrepreneur student, be a problem solver, not part of the problem. Ya, jadi teman-teman, strukturnya sudah ada, kurikulumnya sudah ada, kesempatannya ada. Sekarang teman-teman ngejar grant gampang banget, dari pemerintah juga ada, dari kampus juga tadi disampaikan bahwa banyak sekali program-program untuk itu. Nah, teman-teman bisa manfaatkan, ya, manfaatkan. Tapi passion saya main game, bisa tuh. Passion saya masak, coba cari problem apa di sana yang belum terpecahkan. Kalau Anda bisa mecahkan masalah itu, good chance that your startup will grow. Oke? Dari saya itu aja, nanti kita akan lebih banyak ke diskusi. Thank you.
Okay, now is Q&A session. Maybe if you have a question, you can directly ask the question to the Mr. Dion or Mr. Rajab. Ya, ada yang mau bertanya? Ya. Don't worry, if you use bahasa, it's okay. Okay. The first session is only 3 questions. Only 3 questions.
Sebelumnya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Izin memperkenalkan diri, nama saya Dewi Linda Utami. Saya mahasiswa Prodi Sistem Informasi semester 4, dosen saya Ibu Rini. Dari mata kuliah Kewirausahaan. Di sini saya ingin bertanya, apa nasihat bagi mahasiswa yang ingin memulai usaha dan mahasiswa tersebut belum pernah berkecimpung di dunia bisnis? Terima kasih.
Langsung dijawab.
Good afternoon to Mr. Dion Dewa Barata and Mr. Rajiv Warrior. First of all, let me introduce myself first. I am Niluh Mona Banuvati. I am from 6th term Technopreneur class. My teacher is Mrs. Rina Miliati. I would like to ask about something including entrepreneurship. Maybe my question is for Mr. Rajiv Warrior. I would like to ask about which is more important to create our own business. Is it developing preference of our hobby and find our own spark, or become aware of what people's need and demanding? Thank you.
Tes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nama saya Cantika Harunisa dari Prodi Desain Komunikasi Visual dari kelas pengembangan bisnis. Dosen saya Bu Yusminar. Okay, first of all, welcome to our campus, Mr. Rajib and Mr. Dion. So for today's question, speaking about entrepreneurship, my question will be what mistake that is most likely made by the new startup entrepreneur, and what is your strategy to overcome it? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rajib, the time is yours to answer the question.
Okay, so let's go reverse order. The last question first.
Yes, okay.
What mistakes would you make? So as an entrepreneur, typically you are too passionate about your product. So you would get so attached to the product and not to the problem. So let's take an example. So you are a mechanical engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer. I come from engineering background. So my examples could be that. Or let's take a simpler one. Say I'm the son of a carpenter and my father taught me carpentry when I was small. You know, I was making all kind of stools and chairs and tables and all that. So I'm passionate about woodworking and making products in wood. So I started a company to do woodworking, and I get too focused with my skills and what I like and what kind of wood I like, what kind of styles I like, and I keep making those articles and put up in the store. My family has this store for generations, and nobody is buying it, right? So getting too much attached to what your skills are and what you like as opposed to what customer really need is the biggest mistake. And you would then say that, you know, customers don't know what their choices. You spend money on marketing, money on all kind of techniques to get your products to the customer, and you keep on doing it. So typically, no startup will end up, a very small percentage of the startups end up making the same product or service they started off with. They have to do something called pivot. Pivot means make these course corrections. So you are on a straight track and you realize that something is not working, customer is not liking, it's not solving the problem that you set out to solve, or there are not enough people looking for a solution for the problem you're trying to solve. So you pivot from there, you change your track. You identify what are your skills. My skill is carpentry. Can I make the stuff that people wants to buy? And then make changes from the colonial style or Dutch style tables and chairs that I made, my father made, all this is life, and I'm now making. I changed it. I looked at European minimalist furniture, for example, and change some designs and change something and see if that takes, footing. Or you go around and ask people saying, how much will you spend this year on furniture, what kind of furniture you like, and you use your skills and but build those products. So that's my answer to your question on mistakes you make. You attach too much to the solution rather than the problem and the economics of doing business. Now let's go to the second question. Correct. So the second question is exactly the same. Do you follow the passion? I'm assuming passion is a product that you're... So let's say another example. So I'm a mechanical engineer. I learned a topic called fluid dynamics, and then I loved the whole idea of turbines and power generation. I start setting up a company making mini turbines that farmers can set up wherever there's a water flow. right? Because I love, fluid dynamics. I love, these shapes and machining these shapes and creating turbines is what I love. But then there could be no market for it. So when you're starting up, you have to start with a problem worth solving, which has an economic value, where people are ready to pay for it, right? Now the first question, what was it? Yeah, experience, right? So typically startup promoters are very young. And if you look at the, successful startup promoters historically, you would find that very less number of them would start up after 20 years of some work. You worked in Procter & Gamble making soaps for 20, 30 years, and you left it and did a startup, right? So most of the successful, scaled up, successful large startups are promoted by youngsters who typically do not have experience running large businesses. I don't believe you need to have experience to do startups. You have to understand the problem worth solving, understand and find a market who's ready to pay for solutions to that problem, and then find a solution yourself, take that product or service to the market. It'll anyway take 6 years to establish. On the way, you will learn much more than any other job would teach you, is my take on that question.
Oke, saya nambahkan ya. Tadi yang pertanyaan pertama adalah what is the biggest mistake ya? Ya, the biggest mistake yaitu to fall in love with the product. Ya, in entrepreneurship we believe this phrase. Ya, don't fall in love with your product, but fall in love with the problem. Ya, jangan jatuh cinta pada produk Anda, tapi jatuh cinta pada masalahnya konsumen. Ya, kenapa? Gini. Once I run a startup also, ya, saya punya startup dan startup itu startup kesehatan, health tech, ya, health tech startup. Dan pada saat saya bersama teman-teman kita launching that startup, saya bilang, gila nih, aplikasi ini keren banget, ya, aplikasi ini keren banget. Ini pasti akan become the next Gojek, akan ngomong gitu saya. Tapi dan kita fokus di produknya, kita fokus developing the coding, ya, developing the design, UI UX, kita fokus on that. But when we launch that apps, we thought that the customer will love it as much as we do, ya, as much as we do. And what happened when we did market validation, fail, ya. We asked 300 customer, you like it, the UI UX or not? And 80% of them nggak suka, ya. Kita perbaiki, then we fix it, and then we run a second market fit test, dropping to 20% nggak suka, ya. Apa yang kita lakukan kemudian? Kita coba cari what is the problem, what is the problem. Oh, ternyata konsumen tidak suka menunggu terlalu lama kalau dia buka aplikasi. Ya, kalau teman-teman masuk ke Gojek itu cepat sekali, langsung muncul gitu ya. Nggak ada putar-putarnya tuh, yang lama itu nggak ada. Terus nyari menunya terlalu rumit. Akhirnya kita sederhanakan. Sampai akhirnya kita ketemu satu formula yang desainnya itu sebenarnya kita nggak suka, tapi konsumen suka. Ya, dari situ baru kita launching yang itu. Ya, jadi don't fall in love with your product. Always ask the customer what is the product solving the problem or not. Ya, itu yang pertama. Lalu yang kedua, ngikutin passion atau ngikutin ngikutin problem. Tadi yang kedua ya gitu ya. Nah, saya udah menjawab tadi. Ya, selalu ikutin konsumen. Customer, problemnya, ya. Tapi kalau misalkan kita punya passion, kita tanya dulu passion kita apa. Kalau saya selalu gitu, oh passion kita main game, ya. Kalau passion kita main game, kita lihat what is the problem di sana yang belum disolving dengan baik oleh yang lain. Oh ternyata ada problemnya. Contoh, coffee shop, ya. Sekarang nih coffee shop lagi rame nih, ya. Dan banyak orang yang passionate sama kopi. Ya. Tapi kalau kita, oh saya passionate sama kopi, terus saya bikin coffee shop lagi, kira-kira gimana saingannya sekarang? Parah banget, ya kan? Parah banget. Jadi cari masalah apa di komunitas kopi itu yang belum tersolving. Oh ternyata ada satu masalah yang sulit dipecahkan oleh coffee shop saat ini. Apa? Baristanya nggak ada. Baristanya nggak ada. Lalu ada satu startup di Jakarta yang kemudian trying to solve that problem and creating a school specially for barista to solve the problem of the coffee community. Ya, so he still can work in his passion, ya, but sekaligus solving the problem of the community, gitu. Tuh Mbak, kalau misalkan bisa get along, bagus banget, ya. Terus yang pertama, kalau misalkan saya nggak punya experience jalanin usaha gimana ya? Cara paling gampang, ikut inkubator, join inkubator, tanya sama senior, ya, tanya sama kakak kelas, tanya sama dosennya. Dosennya sudah bagus-bagus di sini, tinggal dilatih aja, tinggal gitu aja. Dan sekarang kita bisa belajar banyak sekali.
Oke, luar biasa ya. I think the point is you should to find your customer need. And then before you doing your business, you should to do like segmenting, targeting, and positioning. Okay. The next section is only 3 questions. If you still have a question, you can ask the question, and then the speaker will directly answer your question. Only 3 questions. Ada yang mau nanya lagi? 3 orang. Penanya, silakan. 1. Ada lagi?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo semuanya. Sebelum itu perkenalkan, nama saya Muhammad Rizky Maulidi. Saya dari program studi Sistem Informasi dan saya dari mata kuliah Kewirausahaan dan dosen saya yaitu Bu Dini. Jadi saya ingin bertanya dengan Mister mengenai bisnis. Saya kan ada kelompok dan saya mengerjakan tugas. Di situ kita membuat bisnis di mana saya bergerak di bidang fashion. Nah, bagaimana caranya atau hal apa yang harus kita perhatikan dalam bersaing di dunia bisnis fashion? Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I want to introduce myself first. My name is Mustika Kusuma-Dewi from Information System. The question is, what are the regulatory barriers that entrepreneurs in Asian countries often face? Thank you. Yes, I repeat. The question is, what are the regulatory barriers that entrepreneurship in Asian countries often face? Thank you.
Regulatory framework. So, what was the first question?
The first question, how to beat the competition in fashion industry.
Okay, fashion industry. So, I'm not a fashion industry or retail industry expert. I can guess, or from what I have read, it's a very difficult industry to set. You can, setting up boutique fashion shop and a niche player they call is easy. You have some skills, some styles, you set it up. There is upwards of 80% wastage in the supply chain of fashion industry. So fashion productions run and they hit the market, 10-15% gets picked, 85-90% gets sold in the seconds market, and then 50% end up in some dump yard, is what I have heard. So it's a very difficult industry going beyond a boutique status. So you can have a shop which is selling, stuff that are changing and all that, but scaling into a major brand is very difficult. I know of a person who has set up a gents fashion set of products, which is essentially shirts, t-shirts, trousers in southern part of India. What he has done is he has taken an iconic young actor as his brand ambassador, and he has got this guy. He's a very young, very stylish actor in southern part of India, and he's he has set up hoardings all over South India. So you drive down the highway, you can see this brand and brand ambassador and dresses and all that. But his brand is making less money than his contract manufacturing for other branded products. So the skills or the capacity or capability that you require to be a supplier to a big brand is same as if you want to own your own brand. So say you are making t-shirts in your own brand. You can also make t-shirts to somebody else's design and put their sticker on it and give it back to them, they will sell it, right? So if I were, it's not an advice, but if I were to get into that industry, I will have two lines of business. One is white labeling, it's called. You can Google up and find out what is white labeling, which is essentially you make the product and somebody else will label it. So you can make salt and give it to a big salt brand. They'll put package in their packet and sell it as theirs. But all the chemical processing that you're doing to make the salt, to refine it, you're doing it. So you have your own brand. On the side, you do white labeling. And I can assure you, your white labeling will make more money than your own brand in the first 10 years of your business. Then it depends how big you made your own brand. So fashion industry is very difficult. Now, the second question is the regulatory constraints or regulatory environment in startup. Most of the world, including Southeast Asia, regulators are very lenient towards startups. India, for example, has a tax holiday for 10 years. So in the first 10 years, you can define a block of 3 years and say, I will not pay tax for it. In any case, in the first 5 to 6 years, you will not make money. So there's no tax question arising. So in the next 3 years, when you are profitable, even in those years, you don't have to pay tax. You can plow it back into your business and make it big. So I don't believe there are any regulatory constraints for startups in any of these economies, because the government wants people to start up. They want to promote startup, right? Now, in terms of intellectual property protection, so our friend here who built the fashion industry had few very cool designs, and if he wants to go and patent it so that no one else would steal his designs and make copies of it, that regulatory framework has matured differently in different parts of the world. In the United States and developed world, it's very strong. They have very strong intellectual property rights regime, whereas countries like India and Bangladesh, other countries, it's very weak, because of which people steal others' ideas and make a business out of it. That's all I have.
Ya, tentang fashion ya. Di salah satu konten dari What One Foundation, we have the business cases. Ya, one of the our local business cases about fashion. Ya, ada satu startup di Bandung, ya, yang dia jadi source kita juga. Dia memulainya ketika dia kuliah, sama seperti kita. Terus dia masuk di fashion industry. Dan dia ngelihat lagi-lagi problem apa yang mau di-solve. Ternyata dia melihat ada satu niche market, tahu ya niche market ya, pasar yang tidak terlayani yang lain. One of the niche market is a football community or soccer community. They don't have the fashion specifically trying to tap that community. Jadi dia membuat baju sepak bola, baju bola. Ya, baju bola, dan dia membuatnya itu by design. Dia punya desain, dia tawarkan ke orang-orang, orang mau beli, baru dia produce. Ini di Bandung, konteksnya Bandung percetakannya bagus, kemudian ininya juga bagus, juga konveksi juga bagus. Oke. Nah, dari awalnya dia cuma laku 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, lama-lama dia trying to duplicate that business, and now this brand, mungkin teman-teman pernah dengar yang suka sepak bola, ada brand di Bandung namanya Hooligans, ya, itu one of our partner in Bandung that help us creating the business case. Right now, Hooligans already become a major brand in fashion, owned by a person still under 40, and now the omset of the Hooligans is around 5 miliar rupiah setiap bulan. So it's big business kalau misalkan teman-teman melakukan. Dan gimana caranya supaya kamu bisa masuk ke sana, ya, mengalahkan kompetisi? Tanya, cari mentor, use the mentor in our system. You can click the mentor there. I think we have a mentor specifically for fashion industry there. Ya, kamu tinggal cari aja, tinggal klik di sana. Terus yang kedua tentang regulatori, iya. Pemerintah punya banyak sekali inisiatif untuk mendorong terciptanya lebih banyak entrepreneur. Tapi ya satu yang paling sering didengung-dengungkan oleh government is the what? Formal legalitas. Legality, ya, formal legality for the business. Jadi teman-teman, kalau teman-teman mau bikin usaha, yang paling utama, ya, teman-teman harus mendaftarkan merek, izin usaha, SUP, ya, nomor induk berusaha, NUB, NIB, kemudian SUP, ya, SIUP itu, sama NPWP. 3 itu yang paling penting. With that 3, you have the access to the grant for the government. But if you don't have that izin, that permit, business permit, NIB, SIUP, sama NPWP, you cannot get any grant. Gitu. Jadi itu yang harus kita pecahkan dulu.
Okay, I think good discussion. I already made the conclusion of this discussion. You don't feel hesitate to open your business, just action. If you don't have idea for a business, you can find it from the daily problem. Okay, I think it's enough. Give applause for all of us. To Master of Ceremony. Okay.
So if you don't have an idea, the best thing you can do is to go to ChatGPT. You all know what ChatGPT is, right? Yes or no? Yes. All of you have used it, right? So just ask, what are the most emerging new startup ideas in the world? It'll tell you these are the 10. You can say, list me 10, 25. Or you can say that I'm going to start, I want to do a fashion industry, fashion brand in Indonesia. Give me the landscape. You will be surprised, it will tell you exactly what is the landscape. It is an expert beyond any expert that you have seen in any business school. It has the knowledge of all the published web information in the world. And then you can keep on fine-tuning. So if you say, let's say it comes back and says, okay, in Indonesia, people wear this kind of dress, you have these 3 products, etc., etc. You can ask the question, so I have global ambitions, and I want to take it global and by the 7th year. What do I do? He'll tell you what to do. So actually, in our next version of Ignite on the platform, there is a ChatGPT assistant or a co-pilot. You can ask the questions. You can ask the question, so this week, teacher is going to discuss this particular case on these topics. Read the case and tell me what are the questions that teacher is going to ask me today. And you will be surprised, it will list you exactly the questions that are relevant in the topic from that case. So it's a very powerful, so just like, in my career, there were few revolutions that happened, a few major breaks that happened. One was the dot-com era. In the 1990s, everything became internet. Before that, when I started my career, there was no internet. By 2000, everything was on internet. Then came the app revolution, wherein for everything and anything, you have a mobile app. The mobile came, and then the mobile app. Right now, the disruption that's going on is the generative AI, and AIs can do pretty much everything. This year, the top engineering colleges in India had a 38% of those people not getting placed. A lot of these lower-end jobs are getting replaced by this programmed knowledge or large language models. So it's time you go figure out what are the business ideas that are propping up around large language models. This is as impactful or more impactful as the dot-com, where everything went on to the internet, everything went on to an app. The next thing that you would see, the internet search is almost dying. Nobody uses it anymore. People go to Bing and ask the question and generative AI answers it. As opposed to you asking the question, zillion results come, you go through one by one and figure out what the answer is. Now it'll go through, do all that and tell you this is the answer. So for you, your generation, or for you specifically, look for ideas around ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT itself, you're a large language model, give me the 10 top use cases and who are the prospective customers for it. You will be surprised with the answer that it gives. It's extremely powerful. Play with it on a daily basis. And interacting with it or writing programs around it is a piece of cake.
Okay, before we close the discussion, there is 3 door prize from Mr. Dion. Mr. Dion, you can choose who is the best question.
Okay, 3 best question. First, the number 3 will be the last question, the regulatory question about regulatory. Yeah. Lalu yang kedua adalah the second best will be the from there, ya mbaknya ya. Ya. What is the most important following your passion or following the problem? Ya. And the first best question will be from the cafe, from you. What is the biggest mistake? Yeah.
Okay, we will take picture together here. Mister, silakan. Thank you so much for Mr. Dion and Mr. Ajeb with the good insight for us maybe. And then before we close the activity, I will return the activity to the Master of Ceremony. For the Miss Desi, time is yours.
Oke, saya ucapkan terima kasih sekali lagi kepada Bapak Rajif dan juga Mr. Dion, dan juga untuk Bapak Muhammad Saputra selaku moderator kita pada siang hari ini. Baiklah, kita sampai di penghujung acara. Untuk absensi semuanya nanti kita bakal absen satu-satu di situ menurut dosennya masing-masing. Jadi nanti ketika saya sebutkan nama dosennya, kalian ke meja regis. Oke, sekian untuk hari ini. Kami akhiri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Pertama, mahasiswanya Ibu Riyadi Nirian Utami dari kelas 8 SI1 dan 2 DK1. Silakan.